he starts communicating with the individuals he's traumatizing. He's communicating with the officers, like mocking and taunting. He had a 44-year run of evading capture.
How many years?
44. He was someone who had institutional knowledge and was able to exploit the limits of what was essentially an analog world. He was sentenced in 2020. But his era spanned from, let's say, the mid-1970s through the mid-1980s. And over the course of that time period, he was responsible for at least 13 unalivings, 13 kidnappings, 50 assaults on women of a, was that one time, sexual nature.
Sexual. How many sexuals?
Over 50. He was, yeah.
Over 50.
Over 50.
So there was a lot of people that he just did the sexual
assault
to, but didn't kill.
Well, it's a progression for these guys.
Right.
At the genesis, it was 120 break-ins. And so, well, first of all, this guy lived in a relatively rural community called Visalia back in the 1970s. I checked the population. According to the census, 25,000 people.
Isn't it a real big farm area?
It's agribusiness
Right.
and livestock.
Right.
And so
And he's a cop up in that area.
well, that was the interesting thing about this gentleman, this scumbag, excuse me.
Right.
He was for much of the activity he engaged in, he was a police officer. And former military, comes back after he served, went to college, got a degree, criminal justice, became a police officer. He was in the Navy, actually becomes an issue later on because one of his signatures was the way he would tie the knots. And anybody that's been through the Navy knows you go through boot camp, you got to learn how to tie knots.
Right, right. More so than any form of the military, the Navy is where the knots go.
Where the knots come,
right.
Yeah. And so, but at the beginning, he was, as in the case of the scumbag we profiled last week from New York.
The Gilgo.
Another one of these individuals who have this compulsive need for psychological dominance, psychological control, and psychological terror, essentially.
Power.
Well, it's more, he was just, like, to illustrate, at the beginning, he was doing a random series of break-ins.
So the Golden State Killer starts out Johnny Break-In.
Johnny
Break-In guy.
He's a police officer on the burglary units.
Oh, so it's like shooting fish out of, for lack of a better term, like fishing. He knows where. Yeah. He knows all the tricks of the trade, who they're investigating.
It's the stereotypical, the fireman that starts fires.
Right. The arsonist.
The arsonist, yes.
Right.
Okay. And so now he didn't live in the area in which he targeted. He lived about 10 miles, 15 miles out. So he was on a police force for the Exeter, but he was targeting the area
county.
Visalia.
Yeah.
And so
he's like a city guy, and he goes into the county area, like where the sheriff may be.
These are all small towns at the time. Like today, it's much more developed, but back then it's just little agriculture.
It was just maybe the next little city over.
10, 15 miles over.
Right.
And so he's doing, like I said, over the course of the first couple of years, he does 120 some odd break-ins. Now, of course, being a police officer who's familiar with burglaries, he knows.
Because you're in the burglary unit.
Yeah, he knows the tools of the trade. He knows the limits of the authority's ability with respect to investigations. He knows the evidence collection protocols. He understands the, investigatory protocols. He knows the patrol patterns.
He knows the shift changes.
Yes, so he was able to capitalize on that institutional knowledge.
Like almost a borderline expert of,
yes.
I mean, like within the world he's dabbling in, he would be considered like an expert.
Yes, sir. He'd be competent to testify in court.
As a burglary expert.
Yes. And so he would come. So now although he was compulsive, he was organized in the sense that he would study the houses, make sure he'd get the time schedules of everybody. He'd break into the home, but he wasn't really taking anything of value. And this is where you see the psychological sickness forming. What he was doing was essentially like ransacking through, and initially he was targeting primarily women, ransacking the women's undergarments. Or like taking all their clothes, throwing them in a pile, and taking a big picture of like Kool-Aid and just throwing it all on her clothes. Like, just like.
So he wasn't the degenerate burglar that's in there looking for jewelry, cash. He's in there doing this to
tormenting,
show kind of dominance or some type of sick, of like showing dominance over a woman to create fear.
He derives a sense of a thrill knowing that he's, when someone breaks into your home,
Oh, you're violated.
You're violated.
Yeah.
And particularly for now, if someone breaks into your home and, from a woman's perspective, going through all his undergarments and going, it's a real. And so he got.
The guy that's breaking in and grabbing your watch is way different than the guy that's sniffing your panties and doing that. That's a whole different monster.
Well, not just that, though, but he would also, not only would he do the undergarment thing, but he would also, what he would take would be things of sentimental value. And so the one photograph you have of your grandparents when they were young and happy and beautiful, like it's irreplaceable. Like just the sentimental value that can't be replaced. Well, he'd take that.
Which was even more sick.
Yes. He would take the photos of the family or close family
things
members.
That have no value but are actually invaluable.
Invaluable. That's right. Or if there was a wedding ring there, he'd take the wedding ring.
Oh.
Or if she had a beautiful set of earrings, he'd take just one of them.
Not even both.
Both, yes, exactly.
That even makes it more
it's sick.
Demented.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah, and so then this went on for the better part
120 of them.
120 of them. He, of course, by that point, he was already labeled, they called him the Visalia Ransacker.
But that's all he had on his tab was just 120 burglaries.
Yeah. Well,
at this juncture.
At this point, yes. He hasn't escalated
He was the Visalia Ransacker.
Yeah.
Which is far better than the Golden State Killer.
Yes, because this point, it's still primarily the ransacking.
Right.
And so,
you've done time, and you know that the amount of time you're going to get for being a ransacker compared to the amount of time you're going to get from having 13 undeaths on your plate is night and day. One of them might be 15 months. The other one might be life in prison.
Certainly. Yeah, certainly.
And he probably, because the media gave him a little title, maybe even boosted his sickness even more, that now that he was kind of a known, like the ransacker.
Well, yeah, as we progress into the escalatory phase, that's where he starts diving into this side of his psycho nonsense, because
the darker.
The darker side, because he's going to start communicating with the media. He starts communicating with the individuals he's traumatizing. He's communicating with the officers, like mocking and taunting. And
little do they know that that's one of their own, indirectly. I mean, another person in Leo.
With respect to the ransackers, some of the more astute officers started getting a little suspicious, because it's one thing for a guy to get lucky, breaks in, he takes, okay, but he breaks in, but he didn't steal anything. But on the other hand, it's after a year of these, dozens and
hundreds.
At this point, it's over 100. But once you're a few dozen into these things, and you're like, is this the same guy? And how's he not leaving behind any evidence?
No fibers, no DNA, no hair.
Remember, this was the 1970s era, so the forensic capacity was very different. But
this is like another guy where technology, kind of like our one last week, the Gilgo guy, where technology kind of eventually caught up to him.
Yes, but at that point, that was his, later on the media, because he had a 44-year run of evading capture.
How many years?
44. Now, he went dormant in 1986. He kept traumatizing the people, making these taunting phone calls from 91 to 2001. But there's that 44-year period without having gotten apprehended. Well, he was, they're calling him a criminal mastermind. No, he was someone who had institutional knowledge and was able to exploit the limits of what was essentially an analog world.
Exactly. And the analog world's far different than the digital world.
Very, very.
Just like our boy Rex from last week, where the cellular triangulation and the geomapping, caught up to
ultimately
him.
Caught up with
and
him.
That's what ultimately, other than let me see if I can remember correctly, other than the fact that he drove a green Chevy Avalanche.
Yes,
remember?
right.
That was probably within, not to go back from last week, but that was probably the one tip that really let them hyper-focus on.
Sure.
Because it was such an oddball, a green Chevy Avalanche.
Well, yes, and
talking about last week with Rex.
Yes, and of course, New York had a database that allowed the authorities to pull up, who owned.
They can just start drilling down on it.
That's right. So with respect to this guy, though, he wasn't leaving behind any evidence. And so some of the detectives were like, this may have the hallmarks of somebody who may potentially be a cop.
So somebody at one time early on identified that, like there was a detective or somebody that said, hey, this might be one of our own.
Yes. Now, not obviously the likelihood of it being someone in your own department is going to be modest.
Somebody with our knowledge.
Someone with a prior background in law enforcement, because he's continuously engaging in these break-ins and not leaving any evidence behind. There were other instances where he was trying to break into people's homes. Civilians saw him. So like, hey, what's going on? So the guy would just take off running. Well, they'd get like witness descriptions, vague, of course, but they were saying like, you know what, like it's a white guy, and we started yelling, and next thing you know, he hit 2 or 3 fences and was gone. Well, that means it's not an African American, it's not a Hispanic, it's not someone, Asian. It's not an overweight guy, it's not someone who's older,
in shape white guy,
and
you can start drilling down from there.
That's right. So you start building a profile, saying, look, you know, it's someone who has potentially some kind of a law enforcement or military background, someone who is in physical shape,
athletic,
relatively good shape, where he's able to start hitting these fences and take off.
This was just the burglary side of it, correct?
Yes, this is the Visalia Ransacker.
So the Ransacker I don't know if it ran its course or not, Pete, but eventually things with Joseph escalated.
Sure.
Where, man, maybe breaking into, you know, this middle-aged 35, 38-year-old hot single woman house isn't good enough. Maybe they're kind of on to me a little bit, and it can only feed my ego so much. I got to take it to the next level.
He takes it to the next level. He moves beyond ransacking through the undergarment drawer.
Right.
To where now he starts actually physically assaulting the women.
So when you're a ransacker, you don't want to be caught. You don't have any contact.
There's nobody in the house even.
You don't want to touch nobody.
Yeah, you're just
now you're putting hands on people.
Yes. And so now, similar circumstance, he would case out the house, make sure that she lived by herself. He would oftentimes go in, check out everything, make sure everything was fine, leave like the window unlocked. That way, when she's home, he's able to.
So like almost he'd pre-scout it.
Yes, he just
with boots on the ground.
Yes. Then of course he would get in, you know, assault the woman.
Right.
And over the course of the next 3-year period, he had over 50 of these.
So 150 ransackings.
Over 100 ransackings.
Yeah, I'm sorry, over 100 ransackings. Yeah. Then that escalates to where we are now, and that's sexual assaulting women.
Yes.
To the tune of over 50.
Over 50.
And so, but never caught.
No, and now the circumstances start escalating because he's in the midst of one of these assaults. He was targeting, not only is the guy a sicko, but he's also, at this point, he was targeting a teenage girl.
So now you got
minors involved.
Right. Now you're now you're a real sicko.
Now you're a real, I mean,
not that any of it's great, but now
but this guy's he's really gone into someplace very dark.
Right.
And the household was, the family name was Snelling.
Snelling?
Yes. And so he breaks into the home. The father's there. He's targeting the
child or the teenage
girl. She wakes up. He's on top of her with a knife to her throat. Says, hey, you're coming with me. Shows her his firearm. She gets up. She's leaving with the man. He says, if you scream or anything, I'm going to unalive you. So, of course, the 15-year-old girl's going to do what she's told. While he's literally leaving with her, like walking across the lawn with this guy's daughter, the father wakes up. Gets up, goes and checks, see what's going on. Like, something ain't right. He goes outside, and he sees the man walking away with his daughter. So he starts yelling and screaming, hey, get back. Where you going? Well, he's obviously
absolutely
gripped with panic and infuriated. Scumbag DeAngelo turns around and fires off a couple shots.
At Pops.
Remember, DeAngelo's a police officer. He's not some knucklehead on the street.
He probably got pretty good aim.
2 shots.
A marksman.
Unalive. Through the lungs on one and through the heart of the other.
So that guy, Dad didn't have a chance.
Dad didn't have a chance. So now it escalates from ransacking.
From sniffing panties and ransacking.
To now breaking into a home, actually kidnapping
a teenager
girl, obviously contemplating assaulting her.
Right.
And in the midst of this, unalives the father.
Right. Takes her dad out.
Takes the dad out.
And so, shit's getting real now.
Yeah, shit done got real.
Shit done got real.
Yeah. And keep in the time, this is a cop doing all this.
Right. Yeah, this isn't, Johnny heroin addict that's trying to get a fix.
Yeah.
Trying to steal. This is a very sophisticated man that knows the systems, and at this point has, 100+ ransackings, 50+ sexual assaults.
He hadn't hit the 50 number. He was in the process.
Right,
but he's working
on his way to that.
On his way to 50.
And on his way to the assaults, he now has, he's now taken a person's life, a father's life.
Yes.
Who's trying to protect his daughter. Yeah. So shit's got real.
And then, of course, that thwarted his ability to take off with the kid. So he
left the kid there.
No. Starts socking her, kicked her in the face a few times, punched her, left her, just beat her for just.
But she made it.
Oh yeah, she
okay. So
survived.
she made it.
Yes.
But that thwarted what he wanted to do, which was take her to probably another place.
So now that obviously changes the complexion of everything.
Right.
From a law enforcement perspective, it's not the guy going in sniffing panties.
Right.
Or a peeping Tom kind of a situation.
And at this point, Pete, are we still behind on, are we still analog in the analog world where they can't, at this particular time when he offs the dad and is with the girl, has technology caught up where you can analyze fibers yet or no? Are we still kind of
at this point, yeah. This is still in the mid-1970s.
All right. So we're still in the...
Like the analog world, which is essentially...
That's what we'll call it, the analog world, which is essentially a world where you don't leave a digital footprint on a phone and they don't really have the ability to check DNA. All right, so...
He unalives Mr. Snelling, the father.
And he assaults, beats up the teen.
Yes, and so now, of course, it's all hands on deck from the law enforcement community. He is a officer from the neighboring city over. And so now you're going to start getting like cross-collaborate. Hey, we're going to need more of your guys because the Visalia Police Department started putting stakeouts, try to get a sense of, okay, well, where's he going to hit next? And that's another one of the details that had caused them to suspect, because at one point they had stakeouts around the city and the ransacker would strike, but he always missed.
He always missed his municipality.
The stakeouts area. So if you got these 3 blocks we're going to watch, and he did the 4th block over.
Oh, because he knew.
He knew where they were.
He knew where the stakeouts were, so he never... No matter how random they would do the stakeouts, the ransacker would miss the stakeouts.
Yes, and so the officer.
And there probably comes, Pete, a point in police work where, in their mind, and you obviously know more about this than me, but in their mind, they're like, okay, no way it's a cop, no way it's a cop, no way it's a cop, no way it's a cop. This is a bad guy. And then it probably flips to when there's so many, like you said, I think, was it last episode when you said there's no such thing as circumstantial evidence?
Oh, no. They go from there's no such thing as a coincidence.
So it goes from like, okay, there's no way this is a cop, there's no way this one of ours, to they probably flip to say, man.
Yeah, after you do 10, 15, 20, 25 burglaries and there's no evidence, like how's he able to not?
And then they're like, well, this isn't coincidence here.
Yeah, that's at some point now the probability starts stacking so high where it's like, he's not leaving any evidence behind on the one hand, and then he keeps hitting these strikes, but he's outside of the stakeout areas. It's like nobody can get that lucky. You can't just keep throwing 7s.
No.
And so
you got to crap out
at some point. You certainly. And so
you big crap player?
No.
I watch it and I play it. If I have a guy that knows what he's doing, I'll play with him. But it's an amazing game.
Sure. Oh no, I studied.
Oh yeah.
I'm into probability, but no, I don't.
Now I heard that statistically in the casino, it's your best odds if you know how to play.
Yes.
It's what I heard.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's the one where the house has the least
advantage,
statistical edge.
Right. So we got the guys. The ransacker has escalated to now doing sexual assaults.
And the unaliving of Mr. Snelling. Obviously, the police treat the situation much more seriously, and they start having the stakeouts throughout the city. And one of the undercover detectives, DeAngelo, is on his way to do another break-in, and the detective spots someone he considers to be suspicious. So he gets out of the car like, hey, freeze. But he hits him with the flashlight. The guy's like, hey. The DeAngelo, okay, yeah, I surrender. And so when he gives the I surrender, he pulls out his firearm and shoots.
Another officer.
He shoots at the officer. He doesn't hit the officer. He hits the flashlight.
Man.
But now, of course, the officer has to take cover to protect himself.
Sure.
Boom. DeAngelo's gone.
Yeah, gone.
And so, but now, of course, they have a physical description.
Right.
Because he didn't have the mask on or anything. So the detective was able to give
more detail.
Yes.
Right.
And so he's able to say, okay, this is the physical description. And the detective made the comment saying, I've seen that guy somewhere before. He's a police officer from the neighboring city.
Right. They're drilling down, aren't they, Pete?
Yeah. And so now, of course, DeAngelo realizes and keep in mind, this incident with the detective is only 3 months after the Snelling incident.
Right.
So at this point, he's blown up the spot.
So DeAngelo at this point, is he like, I got to back this thing way down?
No, what he does is he moves. He moves from the Visalia area up by Sacramento. And for people who don't understand California's geography really quick, Visalia is in the San Joaquin Valley, agribusiness type town, located about midway between Los Angeles and San Francisco. couple hundred miles north of LA.
People don't realize how geographically big California is.
Oh, it's enormous.
Enormous.
Yeah.
So he then moves probably, 400 miles?
About 250 miles up to...
250 miles north.
North to Sacramento area. Now, of course, we're talking back in the 1970s. So this is, we're old enough to remember the old library card catalog systems. Well, this is the police detective files.
Right.
And so the authorities...
They just can't get on their computer.
Yeah, the authorities in San Joaquin Valley aren't going to be able to just access Sacramento law enforcement databases.
No, this is when detectives had to pick up the phone, get another guy on the phone, start comparing notes, maybe drive up there.
Yeah, sure.
That's how it did.
Yes.
Now, was he able to get a police job?
Yes, he transferred as a police officer from the Exeter Police Department over to Auburn. So now he's up in the Sacramento area, and this is where he starts. He goes on his 3-year run with 50 plus assaults, focusing primarily on the East Sacramento area, which at the time was unincorporated territory.
Now, is that out of his patrol area?
Yes.
Yes.
He broadened his area from East Sacramento as far down as Stockton, which is 50 miles away.
Yeah.
And then now to Modesto, maybe 65, 70 miles away.
That's his jam right now. So he's gone from ransacking to the close call with Snelling, to the close call with the police officer, to now he's relocated 250 miles away, and now he's concentrating on the assaults on women.
Yes, but the same MO essentially, because he has the break-in, the surveillance at a home, the break-in, the preliminary break-in to get everything situated, and then he execute his assault.
That's probably one of the reasons why he stayed at large for so long, because it wasn't like, okay, I'm just really horny right now and I want to go do this. It was calculated, whereas a lot of the people that are in this arena, they just see a chick and they just are, overcome with, and so this guy, because he bird dogged it and watched it from afar, probably made him way more undetectable because it was calculated more so than impulse.
Yeah, well, he wasn't opportunistic.
Right.
Yeah, he was much more calculated. But you made the statement about being horny. It really doesn't have anything to do with, is this demented compulsion necessary to physically dominate the woman, control, humiliate? These are psychologically driven.
And if you look
crimes.
at all three aspects of it, Pete, you go from ransacking, which is a version of what you just said, having dominance and power over somebody.
And terrorizing.
To sexually assaulting, and that's the same, but escalated. And then you go to unaliving people.
Well,
and then that is the ultimate
form.
At
this point, he's not going out looking to unalive.
Right.
It may be incidental to his other conduct.
Within these sick people's mind, Pete, do they escalate it? Like, okay, ransacking is this little circle. I'm kind of bored there. Let's go to having physical contact with them.
Yeah, for them, they need the thrill.
And then I got to take it to the next level.
That's right.
Because it's not about sex or anything like that. It's about my sick, demented controlling mind. And so now I have to take it to the third phase, which is what we'll get into.
The FBI has done a psychological analysis of these guys for decades. And so there's a manual, essentially, which breaks down whether they're organized, disorganized, and the motivations are generally the same. It's all going to be control, terror, dominant, that kind of a thing. And how they express it is different. Like the signatures are case specific. And we're going to get into one of them because it's really what distinguished Sicko here from other guys. But so he's in the midst of this 50-person run. And naturally, he's getting media coverage. People are saying, hey, look, what's going on? And he was targeting single women.
So we've gone from ransacking, which is over 100, to now we're going to assault.
In the midst of the 50 women run.
Right, and now we're in the midst of the 50 women run that have been assaulted.
Yes, and the media, of course, is now covering this.
Have they named him yet? Because he was the ransacker.
Yeah.
When he was the ransacker, is this just...
He's the East Area raper.
And he probably loves the fact that when he gets this attention media-wise, that probably is part of the sickness.
Yes, because that feeds into the fantasy that they can construct for themselves,
or the validation of how they're a bad guy, or
later on as it progresses, like in the guy from last week, you see how he's taunting the family members.
Right.
Well, he hasn't gotten to the taunting part yet. Like that's a further down.
But it's happening. It's coming. It's coming.
It's coming. And so media coverage about him targeting single women. So he pivots and starts targeting couples.
Oh.
Because single women now are taking precautions.
Right. Single women are, taking defense courses.
Yes,
maybe.
And they're calling him a coward.
Oh.
Like this guy's a coward. He's
so the media now has kind of switched the narrative, whereas you're no longer a serial rapist. You are now kind of a coward.
Yeah.
For picking on single women. So that probably,
triggers him.
Right. There you go. Triggers him.
Yeah, triggers him. And so now he pivots where he starts.
Oh, you want to call me a coward?
Yeah.
All right. Well, let me do this now.
Yeah. And of course, the same, the break-in, the preliminary, goes in, makes sure everything is fine. How's he going to, he scans out, schematics of the house, leaves the window open, leaves the back door open. And he would find the firearms that would be in the house belonging to the man and remove the bullets.
Wow, that's even crazier.
Yeah.
He'd pre-break in, see if they had any firearms. If they did, he wouldn't take them because, your husband would know that his pistol was gone, but your husband doesn't know if your pistol's been taken, the bullet. I have a gun collection, obviously, but I would not know. I just look at it and it's there. I wouldn't know if somebody took the bullets out, but I would know if it was gone, but I just look at it. I don't go and check it every time.
Again, remember, this is the 1970s era, so let's say the guy's got a revolver.
Right.
So he
sees a revolver there.
He sees the revolver next to his bed or under his pillow or wherever he kept it. And he's naturally assuming that the rounds are in there.
Yeah. You don't go check it.
Yeah. And so the husband and wife or the boyfriend and girlfriend, they leave the house. He breaks in. He's got a shotgun. They return home. Now he confronts them. Now he has to neutralize the man.
Yeah. That's his first thing.
And so what he would do is, get the guy laid down. He'd bring the ropes there or the wires or whatever he would use to secure it. And
so he'd tie the guy up.
He wouldn't tie him up. He'd have the girl tie him up. Because he's got to hold the shotgun on them. So he holds the weapon on them. Her tied him up. Then he ties her up because he could physically overpower her.
Sure.
So now he ties her up. Then he goes back and
does make sure the knots are Mac Daddy on old boy.
And he has a specific style of knot called diamond knot.
So he used a diamond knot that he had learned in the military.
So he goes through his experience with knots in the Navy. And so he does a specific knot style to secure. So he's like, does the guy's feet, does the guy's hands. So the guy is now disabled.
Incapacitated.
Locked, he lays him on the ground, put the blindfold on him, takes a rag, stuffs it in the guy's mouth.
I can't scream. Yeah. I can't do nothing.
And when he'd take a stack of plates or teacups, and he would set it on the guy's back. And he'd tell him, those plates fall. If I hear those plates fall and crash, that's his tripwire. You and her.
So the guy is just sitting there just absolutely trying to be
balanced. Right? Not moving. He can't move because he's terrified that if the plates fall.
Fall out, we're all in trouble.
We're all in trouble. So he's just completely immobilized. And while he's there trying not to move to knock off the plates, scumbag takes the girlfriend or the wife into the living room and spends the next 2 hours assaulting her. And sometimes it'd be 3 hours. Sometimes it's 4. The poor guy's on the floor. I mean, it's terrible all the way around. And what was bad is in the midst of that, he'd take a break, go and get something to eat, go in the kitchen, give himself a beer, talk to the guy yeah, your girl likes this, your girl likes that. And and the guy's like, he can't move. He's got blindfold.
I mean, this is next level stuff, Pete.
Oh, yeah, terrible.
This is I'm so glad we're talking about it because I've never heard about this, and it's one of the most.
It's egregious.
It's as egregious as I've heard.
Yeah,
why didn't this get more coverage? I'm glad we're talking about it to get the word out. But my God, this is bad.
Bad. Yeah, he
bad.
Literally. And on one of the guys, he had him down on the ground. He's like, "Hey, look, after I'm done here, I'm gonna go visit Carol." Well, Carol's his mother. And he knew the mom's name, where she lived.
So he did the research, and then he'd say, "Okay, I'm going to go get your mom, Carol."
Well, first, let me go finish off with your wife.
Let me go finish off. Go get Carol.
See Carol, and it's just.
This isn't only physical. This is mental. This is just
part of the mental thing. Is he'd be like, "All right, yeah, I'm done here. Had a good time, sweetheart. Got to go." And then they don't. The woman's tied up. He's tied up, and they'd be like 20 minutes. Go by 30 minutes, go by 40 minutes, go by, and they're like, "You think he's gone? He's gone. Okay, what are we going to do? Boom, he'd jump out from a closet. He hadn't left.
Oh, hold on. Really?
Round 2.
So He'd say, okay, I'm out of here.
I'm out of here.
And then he really wouldn't go out of there.
No.
And then they would sit there and talk about themselves.
Yeah,
okay,
you know,
think he's
20
gone.
minutes later,
Yeah,
like,
he's gone. He's gone. Let's try to untie ourselves. Because he didn't unalive him.
He'd spring out.
He'd spring out. Whoa!
What'd I tell you?
I told you not to move.
No. He'd just go another round.
Oh my God,
Yeah.
Pete!
Oh yeah.
I am so glad you brought this. I mean, I am fascinated by this. I know our audience will be. I am fascinated by this guy, the Golden State Killer.
Yeah, the depravity was just
DeAngelo, James DeAngelo.
Yeah.
What a sick fucker.
Yeah.
So, how many of those instances did he have?
He had over 50.
Over 50, pretty much the same template.
That was his MO.
When he would finally be done.
Well, when he was finally, let's say 3 hours later, 4,
Sure.
and he was still ransacking. Like
Sure, yeah.
He'd go through her clothes, still doing the panty
Like you
thing.
said, drink a beer, eat a sandwich.
He'd have some of the guy's steak. Like, hey, yeah, this is pretty good. I'm gonna eat your dinner.
And then would he unalive him?
No,
No.
he hadn't escalated to that yet. Remember, the unalivings were incidental. Like if someone
Right. So at this point,
Yeah.
we only got one unaliving on our tab, which was the dad.
It's the dad trying to protect the daughter.
Shelling.
Yeah,
Shelling,
Mr. Snelling.
And trying to protect his daughter.
Mhm.
And then we had another incident with a cop, but it hit his flashlight.
With the flashlight.
So that's the closest
Yes.
we've come to.
Yeah. Now, like in the midst of these, that 50
Spree.
assault spree, there was another unaliving of a couple. I believe the name were Majoris or something like that, and they happened to be out walking the dog in the area. So now he confronts them because they saw him. They take off running. He gives chase and then unalives them. But it wasn't
necessarily, they weren't a target.
Yeah. They just wrong place, wrong time.
happened to see.
Wrong place at the absolute worst time.
So he was trying to do some crazy stuff. They saw him. He's like, I got to get rid of them.
Yeah.
Because they witnessed me.
So now he's got the unaliving of Visalia. He's got 2 of them up in the Sacramento area.
Got 3 on our tab.
Yeah, but the guys in Visalia have no idea because down there he's the Visalia Ransacker.
Right.
Up in Sacramento, he's the East Area Graper.
So he's got the ransacking gimmick that.
Well, you got different task forces.
Yeah.
Not realizing they're looking for the same guy.
They're still probably trying to find the ransacker, aren't they?
Well, sure. They're
Absolutely.
still looking for this guy.
Right. And now he's the graper.
He's the graper up in Sacramento. But the geographical area is like I said, it goes down as far as Stockton and Modesto, which is 50 to 75 miles away. He starts going out as far as like Contra Costa, which is on the east side of the bay. Go from San Francisco across the Bay Bridge, going to Oakland, that's Alameda, then Contra Costa. So he's making his way out to a significant geographical area.
Right. He keeps kind of.
And so, again, this is part of his institutional knowledge because he knows as a police officer that the detectives in Stockton aren't going to be able to get information, or they could, of course, but they wouldn't have any reason to associate him with an incident in Oakland.
Because technology isn't there yet. And
so,
he knows that they're not, they don't canvass each other like that.
Yeah, they simply
for the most part.
They didn't have the capacity to seamlessly integrate.
Especially if they didn't have any hard evidence. You're like at this point, they didn't have any idea that the ransacker was the graper.
Sure.
They had no idea.
And these men, the scumbag from last week, Rex, he was a civilian engaging in this activity, and so they tend to stay in a particular geographical area. Like he'd bring the women back to his home. Like that was part of his MO. Whereas what distinguished DeAngelo was the fact that he was law enforcement. He knew not to engage in the type of tactics that the authorities expect.
And he had also the advantage of knowing where the authorities may be looking, with not hitting any of the stakeouts and stuff like that.
Yeah, in the Visalia area, that worked too. That certainly was the case. Later on, when he was living up in the Sacramento area, if you're 65 miles, 70 miles, that's another world back in the 70s and 80s.
That's a whole nother newspaper, a whole nother news cycle. That's a whole nother police force.
Yeah,
so he would go far enough not to be a thing in his particular area.
Yeah.
His agency didn't really know much about that stuff down there. And that's why he was able to do to the tune. That was the 50-person spree of sexual assault.
Yes.
Okay. So
now he's up to 3 unalivings, 100 and some odd break-ins, 50 highly organized assaults on females. So many of them involving the dish stacking.
Right.
On
many of
the
those,
male partner.
So we're still at the 50 on the assaults, of which that gets into the dish stacking.
Yeah, that's where you start seeing elements of his signatures.
Right. And diamond knot, sometimes 3 hours.
Yeah, 2, 3, 4 hours.
So that's where we are now.
Yeah, and still the same thing. Well, now he's just violating her physically.
Right.
In addition to violating the home and taking the sentimental things. I'll take this for myself. Right. Thank you.
So he's doing assaults on women and also ransacking. While you're there, you might as well take that one earring. You might as well take that family, picture. So
sure,
that's still involved in. So when do we go to Act 3?
Well, what's interesting is he, in the course of his police work, he gets arrested for shoplifting. This is the thing that didn't really ever make sense.
So while he's a cop up north,
he gets arrested for shoplifting, but he's shoplifting what are essentially break-in tools.
Right.
And, repellent. Like if you're breaking into a house, what do they got? A Rottweiler.
Yeah. You shoot them with some bear spray or
bear repellent, whatever the repellent
is. And pepper spray back then.
It was
mace.
It was like a repellent, like they had bear repellent back then.
Yeah. Especially living in rural California, you probably had bear spray before we did.
But the authorities didn't connect him with, they didn't say, well, why has he got break-in tools and repellent? Like most people, if you're like a civilian, they go, okay, we know what you're doing.
Yeah.
So they allowed him to plead out to probation. He doesn't get a felony. So that information doesn't make its way into the felony federal databases. So even later on when the FBI gets involved.
This is a local yokel deal.
This is a local yokel deal.
Right. Now, was it within the jurisdiction of where he was a cop?
He got fired from the police force.
All right. For this?
For this.
Okay. So now he's no longer a cop.
And he's no longer a cop, but of course he still understands.
Oh, yeah. He has the knowledge of a cop. He just doesn't have the power of a cop.
Right. And
he'll never lose the knowledge.
Mm-hmm.
Now, does that piss him off? Is it because he is no longer a cop, got fired, got caught? Does that escalate to where we
now it triggers into the going out for the purposes of
right. They're like, okay, I'm no longer a cop, which is something I loved a lot, and something that also is a person that's power hungry. You have power over people. Mm-hmm. You've taken that gimmick away from me, so now I'm really I need to satisfy that sickness some way, shape, or form. Mm-hmm. Being a cop may have kept some of that sickness quelled at the end of the day, where he could still be an authoritarian figure while he's a cop. That might have kept him satisfied enough not to have to go do the final phase of what he did.
Yes,
what he's most noted for.
More noted for, of course. Now this is when it triggers the apex predator, and that's when he gets into the spree of unalivings, which take place over the course of a 7-year period.
So let's start with unaliving 1, if we could.
Well, it's just
because he took. You said how many?
It's at least 10.
At least 10.
But now he leaves Northern California, leaves the Sacramento area, leaves the Bay Area, comes to Southern California. From Los Angeles to Sacramento, or from Los Angeles to San Francisco, you're talking 400 miles, 450 miles.
Yeah.
And so he makes his way down from Northern Cal down to Southern Cal.
And that's a whole nother, you lived it. Yeah, that's a whole nother world in itself, being in the LA rat race, so to speak, right?
Sure. And then the strikes occur in different counties. So he starts off in there's one in Santa Barbara County, there's one in Ventura County, there's one in Los Angeles County, there's one in Orange County, and there's multiples. But he's now operating in this 5-county area. None of the detectives realize it's all the same guy.
And they're still analog where the 5 counties probably don't talk.
And so now in Southern California, there's rumblings of they initially give the guy the nickname the Night Stalker. Not to be confused with the one later on that Richard Ramirez became. That's why he becomes known as the original Night Stalker.
Right. This is the OG Night Stalker.
Yeah, that's right.
Not Ramirez.
Not Ramirez.
Who went on to be the most famous
of the Night Stalkers. Yes.
But so the media or the journalists, they now are putting these together.
But they're not all of them together.
Right.
Because, Santa Barbara is not really close to LA either.
No, not by by analog standards.
But the ones concentrated in the LA area, Ventura, Orange County, that's all Los Angeles.
And so they deem him the Night Stalker.
Yeah. And so now the detectives down in Southern Cal are targeting DeAngelo as the Night Stalker, not knowing that he's also the East Area Graper and the Visalia Ransacker.
Right. Ransacker first.
Yeah.
Graper second.
Yes.
Now we're the Night Stalker.
Yeah, the original Night Stalker.
And we're going geographically, bam, bam, bam.
Yes, and so over the course of the next, let's say 7 years, he was responsible for at least 10 of the unalivings now, and a number of kidnappings.
Now,
and he's continuing to do the assaults also.
All right, so he just got it. He's got his whole bag of tricks.
Yeah, he's gone.
But he's taking it to the next level now. Now it's instead of just doing the sexual assault on the wife, the husband has to have a rag in his mouth.
Having his way, and then just unaliving him.
Right. So now he's doing what he did as a graper, but now instead of just leaving and having them all mind screwed, you now are the final aspect of it is I'm going to go ahead and take her life. So he's just basically everything has escalated. Like the ransacker was a variation of the graper. They all just kind of escalate up to where now, okay, I'm going to break in, sexually assault, do the play. But now my final verdict is I'm going to take your life.
Well, he's still using the plates down in Southern California.
Oh yeah,
because he needs that's the tripwire.
That's his gimmick.
That's how he uses it to neutralize the threat posed by the man.
Right.
He has a way with the women, and then
from 79
to 86. Yes.
So 7 or so years.
At least 10.
At least 10.
Mm-hmm. Well, when he ultimately got knocked off, got arrested in 2018, he pled in 2020. He stipulated to 13 unalivings in total.
And this is just fairly recent.
Yes.
So 79, 86, he's got at least 10. We eventually find out it was 13.
Well, you got the 3 from the 2 in Sacramento.
Yeah.
You got the 1 in Visalia. So now you're up to at least 13.
At least 13.
Sure.
So did the MO still, like you said, it was the same as when he was graping up north with the plates on the back, diamond knot, except he would end it with, instead of just leaving and keeping them mind screwed, he would take their lives.
Yeah, and some of the way he unalived was just like the women were just hitting them with pipes and stuff. I mean, it's horrible. It's graphic. Can't get into it because of YouTube.
Right, I understand. But would he then try to, when he went unalive him, did he just leave him? Mm-hmm. He would never try to do like the Gilgo guy.
Yeah, like on one family, the family was on vacation. The young adult daughter was home.
Right.
So she was at work. The family's gone. He unalives her. And the house was in the process of getting shown for sale. And the realtor shows up to show the house.
And he's got a woman, the realtor's got a woman who just went through that.
With
this guy. Wow. So 10 of those.
10 of those.
Now where does...
He goes dormant in 1986.
So he stops.
Which is unusual.
Night Stalker stops in 86.
Yes.
Goes 79 to 86, has at least 10.
Mm-hmm. Well, because remember, don't forget, during that era also, we had other incidences going on. We had the real Night Stalker, the subsequent Night Stalker.
Richard
Ramirez. So people don't did he do those? He had all these wild goose chases.
Right.
And so
they had just come off Charles Manson a decade earlier.
Yes. Yeah.
So, they had, I don't know where the Melendez brothers, that was a little bit more towards the 80s, wasn't it?
That was a little bit later.
A little bit later.
Right after, I was still in high school, like late 80s in Beverly Hills.
In 86, he stops.
He goes dormant. And I haven't been able to discern why, because usually these guys don't stop.
No, because everything prior to that was an escalation.
It's an escalation. Now, either, they get older, they lose testosterone.
Sure.
They either age out, they get apprehended, or they get, unalived in a bus accident. A car hits them or whatever.
Right.
But this guy, for whatever reason, he stops. However, subsequent to going dormant in 86, this is where you start getting into the taunting. Now he's calling up the woman from 5 years ago. Hey, remember when I came saw you?
These guys just can't help themselves.
Stop.
Just like the Gilgo Beach guy.
Yeah.
When he called up the sister and said, started kind of boasting about what he had done, there's probably a portion of these sickos that we cover, Pete, had they not been taking it to that level, they may not have gotten caught.
he, in the Gilgo, certainly, that was a major contribution. I don't believe it really contributed to that too much here, simply because it was just a matter of technology catching up with the evidence.
Right. So he then in 86 stopped, and then, but he just can't help himself.
He can't help himself. And so from 1991 to 2001, and this is now 15 years after the last unaliving, he's still doing the tormenting. He's calling the police and taunting them. He's calling the newspapers. Because he yearns for the validation to be a bad guy. So he wants to keep the case. He wants to he wants to keep the attention. Hey, like, don't forget. Right. Don't forget about me. Don't forget I'm the Night Stalker. I'm out here somewhere. You know, that's where you see the depravity. Right. And now the circumstances change because in 2001, DNA testing had advanced to the point where they were able to go back and start testing, the backlogs. Right. The cold case files. So now you've got when a woman is assaulted, obviously there's going to be a medical examination to make sure she's okay, and then there's a kit where they collect the evidence. Right. They call it the kit. Okay. And within the kit is any bodily fluids exchanged, hair follicle, fibers. In 2001, they were able to match the unalivings from Northern California to one of them from Southern California. So they realized, the East Area Graper is the original Night Stalker. In 01, when they finally that happened, they could put these two together. Yes. And then that probably just opened up the whole thing. He's still not the Golden State at that point. Yeah. But he's now the combined East Area original Night Stalker. Well, of course, this is early on in the internet days, probably pre-social media, but blogging had become popular. And the publication of that information, that these two disparate circumstances are actually one, triggered a frenzy of citizen detectives that were essentially now blogging or vlogging. They're blogging. But they had access to the information. You can go back and pull up every article from the 1970s in the Fresno Bee. Sure. And you can, the Contra Costa Times, LA Times. And so you had a community of internet sleuths, so to speak. That's right. That for the next 10 years. And they didn't have really a lot to do on the internet, so they could just really kind of hammer down on this. The details. And there wasn't, gaming as like it is today, or there wasn't as many things to distract you on the internet as there are now. So you have a whole community that'd be like, man, they're tearing apart every aspect of all of these unsolved cases to try to link them all together. And so there's a woman, a writer, lived in Los Angeles. She becomes consumed with this case. And so in 2009, she starts and that's been a long time. Yes. But now it's 8 years after the unification of the targets. Right. And she starts, Mitchell, she starts her true crime blog where she does deep dives into every aspect of what she now believes is this huge data set targeting one individual. She's the one who gives it the name Golden State Killer. So Mitchell, this independent journalist who was really drilling down on the facts that was at her fingertips. And a writer. So she ends up writing a book about her efforts with respect to the investigation. Goes on to become a New York Times bestseller. So she deems the Golden, once she gave him that name. Yeah. Captured the attention of the authorities. Right. Now the FBI is all in. Of course, you've got. Well, it kind of unified the effort. When you got a fancy name to a bad guy, it makes everybody want to rally behind law enforcement and potentially find this bad guy. And of course, you've got this huge community of people that are now emotionally invested. A decade worth of citizen sleuths. And at this point, they don't even know where this is going. That's right. They just scratched the surface. Yes, and so. But now you have thank God for Mitchell. The true crime blogging community. Right, sure. That she ultimately emerged out of. So between their efforts and then her writing the book and publicizing it and giving it a really catchy name. So the book's called I'll Be Gone in the Dark. One Woman's Obsessive Search for the Golden State Killer. New York Times bestseller. And then that really probably solidifies and validates the hunt. Because at this point, they didn't have him, did they? No. At this point, he's still at large. Sure.
So even while the book's a bestseller,
it galvanizes public interest.
Sure.
And of course, it's going to galvanize law enforcement interest. And of course, nothing is going to invite the FBI to come in and try to glom onto the credit than anything of a high profile nature.
It makes the FBI not look so good that now we got a New York Times bestseller from a woman who's done all this evidence and done all this gathering, or a community that's got all this, and you guys haven't got the bad guy.
Well, it's you really can't blame the FBI, only because it's not federal offenses.
Yeah, you're right on that. You're right.
Like it's not like they're going to come in and take over the investigation.
It's all a California deal.
It's all California authorities. I mean, I'm normally not in a position of defending the FBI, but in this particular circumstance, you're not. That's not.
But it's also a way to get them hot on the case.
It gets them involved because they, of course, have the state of the art, the best forensic laboratories in the world,
right?
And they have obviously very talented technicians.
Sure.
And so
they got a bunch of Tom Simons running around there.
Oh yes, that's right.
That are smart as hell.
The smart as hell.
Yeah.
And so now the next big break in the case. So you've got the 2001 unification. Now he's the prelude to what becomes the Golden State.
So let me ask you a question, Pete, to back up. What was his when he was just the ransacker? What was the very first known date of ransacking?
1974.
So we got 1974. This starts in 74, and now we're at 2010.
With the publication of the book.
Right. So we got all that period where he's completely,
He's had his run. He had a 12-year run with the 13 unalivings, 13 kidnappings, over 50 assaults.
There's so many things on this guy's tab.
Yes.
I mean, this guy's a bad guy.
And with the continuing taunting.
Right.
So they don't know if he's continuing to do stuff because obviously there's other women subsequently getting assaulted. They don't know, is it him? Did he travel to this part of California?
So now things that he didn't even do now are potentially getting lumped in. You're like, maybe this,
maybe he's in San Diego.
Right.
Or maybe he's in, or he could be calling and taunting them saying, I was just in San Diego.
Now, when he would call and taunt the police, would he say, "This is the Garden State"? This is the Garden State.
No. At this point, he hadn't gotten Golden State.
Yeah,
he
hadn't gotten the moniker yet.
He hadn't gotten the moniker. So when he's calling, he's taunting them. He's the East Area Graper.
So he's got them. They're like,
they think they're chasing. Like I said,
they're chasing their tail.
They're all just chasing their tail. The next big break is the detectives that come in working in conjunction now with the FBI as essentially consulting. They haven't taken over the case, but they're providing a supporting role. And they start going through all of the evidence of a physical nature, semen. I don't know if we can get away with saying that.
You can say it.
Okay, yeah. So they start going through all the forensic type genetic evidence that they have. And one of the detectives decides, you know what? Working with one of the genetic specialists, they take the material of the individual that they knew was tied into the Northern California one and Southern California one.
Right. At that point, they'd put those two together.
Those two together. And they go and they check on public versions of genetic databases, kind of like a 23andMe.
Yeah. Because back then they would do a cheek swab to prisoners and people that were apprehended and things like that. So I don't think there was a 23andMe.
There was in federal prison we did.
Yeah.
I don't know about the state, but they had begun collecting evidence of that nature.
Right.
Early 2000s.
23andMe wasn't around where people just objectively gave it to you, but they would get in certain instances whether you'd been incarcerated.
Well, there were already publicly available genetic databases,
just not nearly as popular as they are now.
And so the detectives ran it through, and they were able to identify individuals that are like. They were descendants from the same great-great-grandfather. So
they were able to
get a genetic lead.
Right.
So they're like, well,
maybe 4 generations away.
3 generations ago, 4 generations ago. So
but it was such, at that point, you may only be 3 generations away, but there's not a lot of people in that bucket.
But now you have
of humanity.
Yeah, now you have a subset that you're saying, okay, well, we've got 5 different groupings that descended from this guy from the 1860s.
Right.
And this is where I'm sure the FBI was able to come involved.
Sure.
Because some of them are, people just don't stay in California. You got, who knows where they're going following up.
Right.
On. So now the FBI working in conjunction with the local authorities have to start the process of filtering.
And looking at markers and.
So this is, of course, this is a multi-year process.
Sure, absolutely.
But ultimately they were able to come to DeAngelo. This happened in 2017.
And so he hadn't offended since 86.
He hadn't offended since 86.
Since 86. So now you taunted.
He taunted to 2001.
Right.
So now at this point, he's quiet because he's gotten a lot of attention.
And he's smart. Like, I mean, he's an ex-cop. I don't know how smart he is, but he's an ex-cop, so he knows I got to lay low.
That's right. And remember, he was born in the 1940s. It's now 2010.
And
he's
so,
in his 60s.
And, he hadn't taunted since 01.
After they were able to link the Northern and Southern California incidences, I think he stopped. I haven't seen any indication that he continued taunting.
2010, the book comes out. FBI's, really, really helping California authorities. They find DNA markers dating back to his great-great-great-grandfather. They're able to reverse engineer it, come to a common thread, and it spits out.
It'll break out into different branches.
Right.
And so now you have to follow up on every one of these to eliminate those.
Some are probably dead. Some are not. I mean, some have naturally died.
Through the filtering process, they get to DeAngelo.
They get to James DeAngelo.
That's right. And so then
after all that peers down.
Yeah, and this is 2017 when they winnow it down to him. So then they were able to extract genetic material from the door handle.
Oh.
On his car. And just like the guy with the pizza crust last week.
Rex.
Same thing this week. They go through the trash. They're able to get a napkin with DNA and genetic material on it.
They'll get you. Remember last week I was like, oh, Pete, if you're careful, and you're like, Bubba, they'll get you.
They'll get you.
Stop. Don't even think about it. Like they'll sit out there and get your garbage and find out your piece of toilet paper and get a piece of feces if they need to.
Yeah.
Like,
you're blowing your nose on a Kleenex or something, whatever.
Right. They get some from his door handle on his car. Some leftover stuff in his garbage.
Yes.
And at that point,
that's when they execute the arrest. April 2018. And so he gets charged, and it's a capital prosecution because it's the unalivings with special circumstances, and of course the kidnapping. The statute of limitations ran on many of the offenses.
Most of the ransacking's done.
Yeah, they don't look. The guy's looking at.
Yeah, I mean, when you've unalived
a dozen, 10 people, they're not worried about the burglaries.
They're not worried about you sniffing some girl's panties back in 77. Am I right?
Yeah, I'm sure that's.
I mean, like, whatever. But we got 10 at this point. They know 10 unalivings that are locked in on this guy based on DNA.
Yeah. So when he gets arrested in 18, this is a 72-year-old man, and so I mean, obviously, it's going to give an opportunity for the victims and the people to get a moment of closure, but. So he gets arrested in 18. They take him into custody. He's going through the pretrial process. And California obviously initiated capital charges. 2020, the pandemic kicks off.
Sure. And he's still going through the process.
And, the state of California, up until that point, was unwilling to negotiate the case. But with the pandemic, now you had a problem because a lot of the people were older.
Right.
He's now well into his 70s.
A lot of victims are probably gone at this point.
A lot of victims are gone, and you got social distance. You can't be in the court. Everybody's 6 feet away. It's not.
And California was as strict about that as anybody. They were absolutely batshit crazy about it.
Yeah.
California was ground zero on people being uptight over this stuff.
Everything got shut down. And so we, in his particular circumstance, because of the pandemic and the logistical challenges with impaneling a jury.
Not only, but a lot of our victims have probably naturally gone
exhausted. And like I said, older people, and he's older, and so they agreed to come off of the capital nature in exchange for a settlement for life, which is ultimately what resulted. And so in 2020, he pled because as a result of the pandemic, he ends up catching a break.
Right.
And
because they were going to condemn him.
Oh yeah,
absolutely. And he catches a break, life with no parole.
Life with no parole.
And that's where we are today.
Mm-hmm. And so he's still in California State Prison.
Still here.
Yeah. They got him in protective custody.
Yeah. I mean, wow.
Yeah, a man like that.
And they got him with 13.
Mm-hmm.
And then hard telling how many essays. I mean,
he acknowledged over 50.
Well, yeah, but part of the unalivings were an essay too.
Yeah. It's over 50.
Right.
We don't have a number because he wasn't.
Just think about how. I don't want to say lucky because that's not certainly the word I want to use, but when he was in his second phase, we went to ransacking, then we went to, the sexual assaults, over 50, and then it goes to the third phase, which involved assault with unaliving people. But think of that second subsect of, like, listen, nobody would want this, have to sit there with plates on your back and a rag in your mouth, but, at that point, he hadn't escalated to unaliving people. Think about how lucky those people were.
Oh, yes.
Because, he had it. The next step was to incorporate that with unaliving. Think about how just, oh my God, how mind-effed you would be sitting there. No, and then, like you said, they would sometimes, say, okay, it's been 20 minutes. I think we're good. Start untying me. I'll untie you. And then he pops up, hey.
I told
oh my
you.
God.
Yeah, that's terrible. Yeah, just
James DeAngelo.
One in the annals of American serial offenders.
What a great episode,
horrific.
Pete. And the information, and this is the thing. This is one of the worst cases of mentally abusing somebody while physically abusing them. And it's a very little known case. A lot of people don't know about this. I mean, I didn't really know about just the complexity of how sick of a person he was. And he was a 2-time or 3-time law enforcement guy. And, oh my Lord, great work, Pete.
All right.
That's why we got him. I just asked the questions. This guy brings it home. We'll have a next one next week. Can we give him, do you know can I give him a tease what next week will be, or is that to be continued?
Well, I'm doing research on a couple more, so I'll let you know.
That's Pete's way of saying, Bubba, be quiet. I'm doing research on a couple more. Appreciate you. It's Deadly Intentions with Pete and Bubba. Give us a like, follow us, tell your friends. More importantly, watch it.